Good evening, everyone. I am Mercedes Miller, the Executive Director for the fabulous Georgia International Convention Center. We're going to start with a short slideshow, and then we're going to have the invocation and a welcome from the mayor. 5, 4, 3, 2, okay, 5, and 4, and 3, and 2, and okay, Gerald. Go. Okay, these are different photos about the positive events with the College Park Police Department, the things that they do in the community, all the personnel issues that they do, all the things that they do for the seniors and the kids. So these are just pictures that'll take you on a journey through the police department. Please enjoy. All right, let's get started. Okay, if everyone would bow their heads, we're going to pray, please. Loving Heavenly Father, we come to you this hour asking for your blessing and help as we gather together. We pray for guidance in the matters at hand and ask that you would clearly show us how to conduct our work with a spirit of joy and enthusiasm. Give us the desire to find ways to excel in what we do. Father, we pray for the employees of College Park, for the citizens of College Park, for all the people that come in and out of our city, God. We ask that you would cover us, God, and we thank you in advance for all that you've done and all that you're yet to do. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, we'll have greetings now from the mayor.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so pleased to welcome you to our second of 2 community conversations here at the Wyatt Rec Center. Unfortunately, we weren't able to have an in-person audience this evening. We thought for the health and safety of everyone that it's best that we keep it virtual. But I'm thrilled that we're still continuing these discussions. We got so much great feedback last week, and we're going to be building on that as we move to build the community that we deserve. So as you're watching this evening, please feel free to send in your questions via Facebook and the other means by which you can send out any questions that you have, and we will be monitoring those throughout the evening. And we certainly appreciate all of your feedback, all of your support, and all of your interest in making our city a great place to live. This evening we've got a few, it's a much smaller group here, but we have our city manager Terrence Moore with us this evening. We have our Director of Information Technology, Michael Hicks, our Director of Communications, Gerald Walker. Well, I stumbled on that, I apologize, Gerald. And our Director of Recreation, Michelle Johnson, is with us as well. And you're gonna see some of the other folks who will be introducing themselves later. But as I said, please feel free to make sure that you get your questions and your comments in, and we'll try to address as many as we can in these next 2 hours. Thank you again for being here, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I would like to welcome our guests on social media, whether it's Zoom, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, etc., etc., etc. I don't think that there's an avenue that we don't have, and if you miss it, you can always watch it later on the College Park Channel 23. I would also like to commend the mayor and council for having this open forum, and also commend the police chief and the deputy chief, because it takes a lot of courage to sit here and answer questions and go back and forth, not to defend themselves, but just to tell you how they do what they love. So we have some rules of the game. Everybody that knows me know that I love football. I'm gonna tell you the same rules I told you last week. If you get out of line, I will tackle you. I believe in that. We only have an hour or so for this event, so we want to make the best of our time. This is a conversation and not a debate. If you ask questions, if possible, can you provide us with your name and the ward that you're in? Your name should automatically come up on social media, but we like to know what ward you're in. Also, we want to respect each other's point of view. And for social media, please type up your questions. We have Lance, he's on ready. He'll be bringing your questions before the chief, the deputy chief, and the mayor. And we want everybody to be safe, and we want to have a good time. So we are going to start first with a message from Chief Williford and then the deputy chief. Chief, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mercedes. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for tuning in on social media, Zoom, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and any other medias we may be on. I'm not quite sure what all they are. But thank you for being here. We enjoy the privilege of explaining police operations to everyone and answering your questions as best we can. Deputy Chief.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sharis McCrary, Deputy Chief, City of College Park. I really don't have much to add, Chief. You really covered everything. And I understand that we may have some new people watching this week that probably didn't watch last week. So I'm going to try to say the same thing, but not exactly the same thing, so that the people that are watching again this week won't feel so repetitive.
Also, the way that this forum is going to work, we have 3 buckets. And in those 3 buckets, before we have those 3 buckets, we're going to show you short videos. And then our first subject, or our first bucket, is going to be what is College Park doing in their police department? Because I think that that's important to know. That's the whole point of being here, is to have a conversation with your police chief and your deputy chief and your mayor. And then we have the second bucket. The second bucket is going to be about use of force. How does the city of College Park and the police department view use of force? And then we want to hear from you with all the questions. Again, we have a video at the beginning of that. And then our third bucket would be the community expectations. What do you expect from your police department? What are you looking forward to? What would you like to see change? What suggestions do you have? And please type in your questions, because we'll be waiting for them. So we want to start with our first video. Do we have volume, or do you want the chief to talk through them? No volume? Okay, chief.
What you're seeing here is the first process that those who want to become police officers in College Park have to go through. It's a physical agility test. And the agility test is comprised of a certain number of push-ups, number of sit-ups, it's almost a 1 mile run, jump over fences and run it through some steps. It's about 0.75, 0.76 miles. Have a certain amount of time to do that in. And then there's a 165-pound dummy drag for about 25 yards. And every applicant has to do this, and they have to pass it before they go to the next stage. And this is a video kind of depicting what they go through.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, would you like to talk about what's going on with the College Park Police Department?
We are aware of the recent incidents in the nation involving use of force with the police, and it's kind of in all the attention that's drawn. And we started going back and taking a look at what we're doing and what our policies are, and reviewing those. We review our policies every year anyway, but we kind of bump that up a little more quickly this year and see how we can improve ourselves and make things better.
Excuse me, Chief, could you speak up? Some of our listeners say they can't hear you. Thank you.
Our first priority is moving forward is to make sure every officer does their de-escalation training. De-escalation is a required course every year for every police officer in Georgia. Generally, they have until December 31st each year to get that done. But we decided to step it up and have everyone to have that completed by July 1st. And I'm happy to say that everyone in the police department has done that at this point in time. The second thing we're doing to help officers better deal with people, especially those in some sort of mental or emotional crisis, is to attend a 40-hour crisis management training course. It gives officers a few clues and tips as to how to recognize certain traits and certain behaviors and methods to de-escalate those things and bring that to a more peaceful resolution. A number of our folks are already trained in CIT. Most of our veterans are, but we have a pretty young force. About half of our force now is about 5 years or less. And so those folks need to get this training done. We're going to do that over the next 12 months. And again, we're reviewing policy reviews and updating those and making changes as needed.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Deputy Chief?
No, he covered it well.
Okay. All right. Do we have any questions so far, Lance?
We have a few.
Okay. All right. Let's go for it.
Okay. Again, thank you everyone for your questions both last week and this week. Already a great response, so thank you everyone. Please keep them coming. First question for today. Can you describe the relationship between the College Park Police Department and the County Sheriff's Office?
Between the College Park Police Department and the County Sheriff's Office, we've worked pretty well together over the years. The Sheriff's Department in Fulton County and in kind of varies from sheriff to sheriff. In Fulton County, the sheriff is primarily there to run the jail and to serve papers, legal papers, civil papers, warrants, those kinds of things. But they do have some officers on the street helping out with enforcement. So our relationship is strong with Fulton County, both the police department and the sheriff's department. We've called on Fulton County Sheriff's Department a number of times for canine support and other things that we could use their help on.
Thank you very much.
So would you say that, I suppose since the last few months, has the Sheriff's Office, or the County Sheriff's Office, reached out more or less than usual? How has the relationship changed, or has it?
Well, COVID has kind of altered that somewhat. We usually meet every other month, but COVID has kind of slowed that down. We are in communication by phone when we need to be, but that support is still there.
I pull that up. I think it's also important to recognize that, especially in Fulton County, 99.9% of the county is municipalized.
Yes.
So the sheriff's department has a relatively small area, and beyond their work at the jail and with the courts, it's rather limited. Clayton County, obviously we're in both counties, is a different story, but Fulton County Sheriff's Department is much smaller than it was even a couple of years ago with the creation of the city of South Fulton. So there's a relatively limited amount of resources and manpower that department has in relation to other county sheriff's departments.
And we have a strong relationship with our neighbors, with City of South Fulton, with East Point, with Hateful. We work together routinely on a number of issues and support each other very strongly. And on the Clayton County side, for those of you in the Clayton County portion of the city, we have a strong relationship both with Clayton County Sheriff's Office and the police department.
Okay, Chief, we're going to need you to speak up just a little bit more and come closer. We have people that say they can't hear. I will also tell you that over at the Convention Center, usually for traffic control and for security at the Convention Center, we use Clayton County as well. So we do a lot of work with a lot of different municipalities. So, okay. All right, we have any more questions, Lance?
There's a couple more.
All right, go for it.
So this one is another carryover from last week.
Okay.
Two-part question. Part one, does the College Park Police Department source either vehicles or equipment from I guess, former military equipment or stuff from our armed forces?
We used to. We don't do that very much anymore. Some of the military equipment we used to have, we turned back in a few years ago because it was outdated and we really couldn't use it. So we have not sign anything out for military surplus now in about 10 years.
And the follow-up question on that is, this person asks, if we were to go down that path, can you explain how a tank or other armored military vehicle is a tool for public service?
First of all, we wouldn't use a tank. I see no real value in a police department having a tank per se. The only thing I could envision in terms of a vehicle that could prove useful might be a armored personnel carrier for our SWAT team for certain operations. And even that would be in rare circumstances.
That's it?
That's it for now.
Okay, Lance. All right, we're over to our next bucket. If no one else has any questions about that subject. Our next bucket, first of all, we're going to be showing a video on Citizen Police Academy. And Deputy Chief McQuarrie, will you be having that? Will you be narrating that video?
I wasn't planning to, but we'll work it out.
Okay.
This is a 10-week program that meets on Thursdays from 6:30 to 9 p.m. and features classes on police organization procedures and crime-fighting techniques used by your police officers. Classes
Okay,
include 911
Deputy Chief.
call center operations, court processes, interpersonal communications, firearms training, unarmed defense, and crime scene processing, just to mention a few.
Actually, on
These classes
social
are
media,
designed to be
it's telling you about the
thought-provoking,
Citizen
interactive,
Police
and hands-on.
Academy and what
This
they
course
did
was
with the
created to
academy
promote a stronger
before and how
partnership
they are
between the
planning
police
to bring the
department and our
academy
residents.
back. So I know that
We
there are
ensure
a lot
that
of
each
citizens
participant
that's
gets the
gonna be
opportunity to
excited about
interact with all levels of the department, to include senior command staff, patrol officers, 911 operators, and support staff. There's no
Okay.
cost to participants,
Well,
and
we
it's
gon-
open to all College Park residents. And to employees of businesses located in our city, please take this opportunity to learn about your police department and how we serve the people of College Park.
To incorporate also the fire department within our new Citizens Police Academy that we're planning to start in August. We're hoping that we can continue that, but right now I know that we are kind of on hold and just monitoring the situation with the numbers right now. So don't be surprised if it has to get canceled, but we're hoping that we won't have to. But the Citizens Police Academy is a 8-week program, 6-week, 8-week
I think it'll be 10 this time with the
with the fire
with the fire
department.
department. We're doing more of a public safety academy this time.
Because we're trying to do some things differently. People that have gone through may want to come back through so that they can get some new experiences.
Okay. All right,
And
thank
the
you.
tentative start date is September 17th.
September
September 17th.
17th is going to be the start day. Okay, keep a lookout for it. So now we're going to move to our next bucket, which is use of force. That is something that has been very touchy all over the United States. So we're going to get the views of the chiefs to see how they feel about the use of force in the College Park area.
Yes, like other police departments, we have a force policy. And our policy is, as we're all trained, is we don't use force unless it's necessary to bring someone into custody or to prevent a crime occurring against another person or against an officer. Every time force is used of any kind, the use of force report must be generated by the officer and that officer supervisor. Once that report is submitted and any other associated reports are completed, that has to be reviewed by the shift commander. Once it's submitted by the first line supervisor, shift commander has to review it, and as well as checking body camera footage to ensure that the video is accurate and correct in comparison to the report. From there, it goes to the command staff, where two division commanders, we have two majors. Major Patterson is over our Office of Professional Standards, and Major Ward is our operations commanders over patrol and our investigative division. Those two review it as well. They also check the body camera footage and ensure that the body camera was functioning and is there. And they give their approval or denial of the use of force. If the use of force is deemed excessive, then we'll look at disciplinary action depending on a case-by-case basis. So we're talking about body cameras. Body cameras are required to be activated anytime an officer has an engagement with the public. If Officer Joe walks up to any citizen to have a conversation, their body camera is supposed to be activated.
So is that just for the officers in the cars, or is that the officers that they say walk the beat? If they encounter somebody and it's a problem, do they have a button that they push, or does the camera come on automatically? How does it work?
Right now, they have a button they push. The sound technology to automatically activate body cameras is really just now starting to come out.
Okay.
And we're not sure the reliability of it, but there are some systems coming out now that are new, and we may have the ability in a couple of years for those cameras to come on automatically once an officer leaves the car, or even voice activates it.
Is there ever a reason that they should turn the camera off if they're facing not a suspect but a citizen? Is there ever a reason that you should turn your?
They should only turn that camera off when that contact is completed.
Okay, all right. Lance, what do you have?
Yeah, quick follow-up question on that. How's the battery life on the cameras? They generally last enough to go through a whole shift?
Typically, the batteries last a full shift. What happens is an officer comes in. Each officer's assigned their individual camera. And what is supposed to happen when they come in at the end of a shift, it goes into a docking station where the video is downloaded to a server, and the battery charges overnight until they come back in for the next shift.
All
And
right,
yes,
Lance.
there are a few questions.
Okay, I figured it was. Let's go.
If prospective officers are recruited or they arrive from a military background, are there some consideration into almost like demilitarizing potential officers, or is that kind of involved with the psych profile initially, or somewhere in between?
We do a pretty extensive background on every applicant, and part of the application process or the vetting process is that they go through a psychological screening, and they have to pass that and be cleared by the psychologist in order to proceed.
I would like to jump in right quick and say, I understand that that's kind of a stigma that officers have that have come from the military. But most of the time, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, the officers from the military are a lot more people friendly. They have taken their training very well, and they have a whole process they go through before they're even interacting with the public by themselves. So their training officer will also be able to say if they're able to encounter and engage with citizens as anyone else would. But sometimes you would be more concerned about people who did not have military background, because they could be the ones to enter the profession sometimes looking for that G.I. Joe type of image. So I don't want people to have that stigma of people coming from the military. I have no military background, but the people that I have come in contact with, they're a lot more docile in their encounters.
With the new development of technology and equipment that can immobilize an aggressive offender, do you know of any equipment, maybe accessible now, maybe not accessible now, that can take the place of, let's say, a gun or a taser or a baton?
There is nothing out now that can take the place of a firearm or a taser. Tasers are fairly effective most times, but there are times when it doesn't work. There are times when maybe the cartridges don't make contact with the target and they're ineffective. But when they're deployed and make contact, they're usually pretty effective. I think there's an effort to try and find a technology that might replace a firearm or be more impactful for non-lethal force, but right now it's not out there.
I have a question, Chief. I saw it on social media, but I wonder as well. When I watch the news, because I try to stay close to home, but when I watch the news, it seems like an explosive of violence right now around the metropolitan area. Do you have you seen any of that happen in the College Park area?
Not near as much, no.
Okay.
College Park has been pretty tame compared to, say, downtown Atlanta in those areas.
Why do you think College Park is kind of kept away from everything that's going on? Because it seems to be in DeKalb, it's in Atlanta, it moves around.
Well, I can't cite a good reason except we try and be as visible as we can,
Okay.
and we've come across very little resistance here in the city,
Okay.
and hopefully it stays that way.
Thank you, Chief. Lance?
And actually, in response to the Citizens Police Academy video, there's a question. What are the limitations, if any, on who can participate demographically, age-wise, anything like that?
Anyone who participates is a citizen of the city of College Park. We should have a registration process coming out very shortly, hopefully this week. We'll have it on, I'll have Lieutenant Duffy doing that just before the week's out. But we try and give city residents first choice to be there, and then if we have more slots and no one else from the city would like to participate, then we may allow people who live outside the city to participate.
And we do background check with the background check.
Yes, and every participant will have to go through a background check because we'll be sharing some criminal justice information, so that's required by state law.
Very good. Lance?
Okay. Could you suggest any way that citizens can have an input to ensure that during every interaction they may have with a police officer, both parties are both safe and protected?
Deputy Chief,
How
you
to-
handle that?
That was to say, I believe that goes into our next bucket. So, Mercedes, do you want me to move on?
Well,
Come
hold on
on.
before, if it's okay. I think the reason why somebody asked this question is I kind of left out this part because this person asked very specifically if they, how can they prevent themselves from,
Having a negative encounter?
yes, involving force.
So we can move into our next bucket.
No, but you can answer that question, then we're going to move back into the bucket we were in. Go for it.
'Cause that's the whole bucket, guys.
Okay, can we hold that question until our next
Well,
bucket?
sure. I mean, I think because they're afraid of use of force. The reason why the person asked the question is because
Okay.
I'll remember it and I'll answer that one. on
That's
our
in
next.
that's in this bucket.
Right.
Yeah,
Do you want me to go ahead?
go ahead.
But she said no.
You can answer.
Okay.
The chief has a
So-
gun, I don't.
For our encounter, what we are hoping for citizens' encounter, so that we can make sure that the citizen walks away just as safe as when they encountered the officer, and the officer gets to walk away just as safe as they encountered the citizen, is first and foremost for the young people who are in vehicles or with their friends. That is not the time to show off in front of your friends. That is not the time for your friend or your passenger to speak up and bring negative attention and be bad-mouthing. Just allow the officer to tell you who they are and why they're making contact, and then you guys can have a conversation about it and try to go from there. A lot of times when things escalate, it's not even the driver or the main person that the officer is speaking with, it's always the friend. Y'all get that? It's always the friend, the passenger, the back seat passenger. Ask your friends and your passengers to keep quiet, keep it down so that you can handle whatever it is. If you're going to get a ticket, you'll get your ticket and everybody will move on. You can appear in court if it's something you do not agree with. We never want anyone to fight it out on the side of the road or at that incident location. It's never, ever our advice to escalate into force or fighting. Allow them to just, if it's a ticket, take the ticket, go. Come to court. Everybody, the officers don't always win in court, so you will have your fair chance there. If you have to go to jail, you can go there, but guess what? If you don't agree with it, if the officer did something wrong, when you bring it to our attention, every officer has a supervisor, that supervisor has a boss, we all have bosses. So I would say if you don't agree with the reason, we just don't want anyone to lose their life on the side of the road or out here in the city of College Park or anywhere in America because they feel like they're being mistreated or they don't agree with something at the time. You can follow up with it through litigation and other means that you can benefit from, but you cannot be replaced. Someone loves you wherever you belong. Someone loves you, and they want you to come home. And the same for officers.
Good point. Learn to fight another day.
Fight another day.
Deputy Chief, are you telling people to sue the city?
I did kind of indirectly.
Yeah. I think one of the themes that came out of last week, and I heard both of you say it, was the idea of the importance of compliance.
Compliance.
But I think in some of the more high-profile cases that have been unfolding in front of all of our eyes this summer, we have seen people comply, and the outcomes still haven't been what anyone would have wanted.
Right.
So for those people who see that and think, like, there's just nothing that I can do that will keep me safe, what do you have to say to them? Because, I mean, I'm sure, and one of the things that struck me last week about what you said, I believe Dr. Chisulo was talking, and you said, we see this too, and we hurt. And
Right.
because when we all saw
George Floyd.
yeah, when we all saw that moment where, woo boy, anybody got any tissues?
Yes.
But where we all saw someone's life just snuffed out in front of us.
Right.
In the extreme lack of humanity and consideration and just the level of brutality in those 8 minutes and 46 seconds. I think, I cried. I think we all have just had those moments where you just look and say, well, how do we even get past something like that when there are people who can't see the intrinsic value in every human life? And but I knew also when I saw that, and I said this to the two of you when we spoke, that it makes it harder for every officer that wants to go out there and do a good job,
It does.
that wants to serve and protect.
It really does.
So how do we communicate to our citizens that we are better than that every single day?
My response, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because I had one of the kids.
And Michelle's going to come and give me some tissues.
Yes.
Or random.
Thank you,
I
Michelle.
have one of the kids that I have spoken to before, and I've always stood before them and said, don't fight, comply. But in the incident of George Floyd, he wasn't fighting from what I saw. He was on the ground, and that person, George Floyd, could not have done, from what I saw, anything different, because he wasn't the problem in that scenario. Those officers were. And you have to, all officers don't stick together. It's not a every officer sticks together thing. Those officers killed that man, period. And that's why, because we understood that and we see that, that's why City of College Park is here, the police department is here, because we want to make sure that we never have a situation like that and never have anyone that has that lack of humanity and respect. because the person wasn't the problem, it was the officers. And that's why a lot of police departments have to look at their practices and their training and how they're teaching people and making sure that they have the right people representing their department and their city, their jurisdictions. That's my answer for it.
Deputy Chief, how do, like the mayor is emotional about it, and there's some people that's mad, there's some people that wants to cry, some people that just want to walk away. How does the police department as a career get past this? How do we get the citizens? How do you get past it, and how do we get the citizens past it? Because it's almost like, it's like a death in the community that we can't get over. We don't want to be mad at you all because we know some very good officers, but we don't want to give in and just excuse the fact that he lost his life. So how do we get to?
We're actually doing it right now because conversation and communication is the first part of it. And like you said, we all are feeling it. The police officers are feeling it too. You don't have a good officer who doesn't feel some compassion for that whole situation and don't see that what happened was wrong.
Right.
If you have an officer defending that, that's a whole nother story.
Okay.
So I would say that we're taking the first step because communication is always what is needed, because, and you see how, I can't speak for every other place, but as far as College Park, I feel like it has, in a sense, brought us closer. You know, it has really gotten to blend some people and some lines, and I have nothing but appreciation because a lot of people have been reaching out to us individually, asking questions from when this stuff, what they're seeing in the media. It has made them, they didn't wait for these forums. So I feel like that is a good start for our police department and the community. They didn't have to wait for the forum. They were able to reach out to us through phone, text message, and email and start having the conversation with us. And they would ask us questions as, you know, as they were watching things unfold on TV. So I think that's the number one thing, is just communication, being present, and making sure that your community know that they have a platform and an outlet that they can communicate with someone.
We appreciate you all. We do.
Thank you.
Lance?
A quick reaction, if I may. I'm thankful to hear the perspectives of all of you, very much so. There was a video that I happened across the other day with a child playing basketball, a little black boy playing basketball, and as he was shooting, you kind of see him look over his shoulder a little bit, and he hides behind his dad or mom's car. And when he hides behind this car, you know, the local police, whatever jurisdiction this was, the car drives by, and this kid hides behind his car until the police car is out of sight. And it just kind of made me fast forward to the way that I tend to operate when I see a police car or when I see a police officer, and it's very similar. And so I know we mentioned how this is absolutely how we go about making change and changing that narrative. But you know, I just, for all the folks out there who are similarly situated to me and others, you know, can you speak just a little bit more about, you know, how can we feel like, at least in College Park, that we'll be given a fair shake?
How can you feel like you will be given?
Can you speak to just, at least in College Park, in my town, in our town, that we can get a fair shake?
In the city of College Park, we want everyone to feel like they will get a fair shake. College Park, we are a small town, but we have big city things going on here. But we don't have, College Park doesn't have the luxury of like some agencies where if they're so big, a lot more can probably get lost and kicked under rocks and sand, and you know, it'll take longer to figure it out. College Park is smaller. We don't have but the 2 precincts, and everything pretty much goes through between the majors, the colonel, myself, and the chief. So we don't have a large agency or a huge division of anything that gives those chances of things being lost. Like a lot of things we will find out ourselves. Like I will tell you, this week we made contact with one of our citizens that because we were also, it was brought to our attention something that happened through the neighborhood site. And we felt like, well, it's something that we should address, and then we wanted to give that citizen some follow-up. So we are a small town in College Park. We are very, what's the word I'm looking for? We are very attentive to our citizens and what is going on. And we have a lot of people that contact us and notify us things of anything. When you get to the jail and you ask for a supervisor will present themselves. Our communication as far as the department is, I believe, is better than a lot of other agencies that are just large enough for things, phone calls to get lost and keep going to the wrong people. But College Park, we all know who pretty much is responsible for a lot of things, and 9 times out of 10, it's just 1 or 2 people.
Lance, any more questions? I see a
In the
few.
next bucket.
Do you feel like I answered that well? You can call us, you can email us,
I
you know where we are.
I do, and I hesitate to inject myself a little bit in this, but because I am a resident of College Park, because I am, a 6'6", I think I'm still over 200 pounds, black man. There's still the very real feeling of, on any given day, is this my day? And it doesn't matter if I live my life a certain way. It doesn't matter if I live my life very well or if I'm, out there doing bad things. On any given day, it could happen. And I just, for the people out there listening, I just want them to know that in College Park, at least I don't feel that way.
Thank you. We hope that you don't. With College Park, you guys we have some really good citizens, and we try to give you guys some really good officers. Like, you guys have a lot of officers that are probably watching right now. I know some watched last week because they care. Not all of them even live in College Park, but this is where they work, and they care. They care about how College Park feels about them. They care about how the job that they're doing for the citizens. Like, the officers really do care, and you guys have some really good officers that are trying to work on your behalf. And our diversity is pretty good. So, I mean, we have, are we a perfect agency? I would not say any agency is perfect, because we're here because we're wanting to know, is there anything else that we can do better, and how can we do it better, and how can we let the community know that we don't want anyone to feel distant. This is a lot of the problems that we're seeing today, is because communities feel distant from their police department, their local agencies. And we don't want our community to feel that distant, that disconnect from us. We want them to know that although we're in this pandemic, we're still here, and we're still gonna be rocking with you guys. And when the pandemic first started, I will say for me, I was looking for officers to start sicking out, because they'll be like, oh, I got exposed, or I'm scared to be exposed, and they wouldn't be coming to work. But I am so proud to say that our officers came to work religiously, and they have been coming to work religiously.
Very good.
And because we were like, this is the one thing that everybody would be able to use as an excuse. But City of College Park Police Department, our officers, I mean, when I tell you, Chief will tell you, I almost welled up in one of our meetings, because what I was looking for that may have happened didn't happen. So I want to reassure College Park citizens that your officers are really here and trying to really do a good job for you. Like, they really do care, and it's good. So I don't want anyone to feel like they'll never have a fair shake when they leave home. Is it my day? I am all about us bringing back that officer friendly. And like you were talking about the kid that was hiding from the police car, like, that should never be happening. It shouldn't be happening. We have to do better. When I say we have to do better, I have always said it has to be on the multiple levels. We need change, but we need change on many levels, through and through. And it's not to raise our children to say, be scared of the police. We need to raise them so that they can understand that police officers are regular people. We don't wear this uniform 24 hours a day. We're citizens, just like you guys are. Our homes get broken into, our cars get broken into. We are experiencing the same things that everyone else is. Our family members are going to jail. We're not any different. So I don't want anyone to feel a disconnect from your police department or the officers.
Thank you very much.
Thank
We're moving into our third bucket. And our third bucket is community expectations. And I see a couple questions out on social media, and we're going to get to them because I think you fit into this third bucket. But before we start our bucket, Gerald has a video. Shot with a cop.
Shot with a cop.
We have sound and visual. Before we move to our third bucket, though, I see one question on social media that falls into our last bucket, but I think it's important enough to address. And the question was, do we at College Park create a culture within the department where if someone saw someone using excessive force, they would have a safe place to come and talk to the people in authority?
Oh, yes. If someone sees something that's out of place or sees an excessive force situation, by all means, we can, if you don't feel comfortable meeting us at the station, we will meet you somewhere else. It doesn't have to be at the station necessarily, but we do need to talk to you and see what you saw and hear from you, and we will start an investigation based on what you tell us.
So it is a safe place for the officers.
Absolutely.
I was going to ask, what's your question for, is the climate okay for the officer to tell on the officer, or?
Yes,
like you're
if
saying,
an
that the
officer saw
citizen-
excessive force,
Yes.
is the environment there for them to speak freely? Because we always
Yes.
want to make sure that the environment is available
Yes.
for them.
And it has happened. If an officer felt like something happened that they felt it shouldn't happen, yes.
Okay.
And we encourage it.
Okay. I thought officers.
Look, don't do nothing wrong around no police, because we gonna snitch.
I thought officers were like football. If you fight one person, you got to fight everybody on the team. So, okay, let's go to our. Yes. Okay, go for it, Lance.
Quick follow-up to, just also the last bucket follow-up, but could you just could you explain your definition of compliance so folks can dig into that a little bit with their minds?
Compliance. Just don't fight. Just follow the instructions that the officer is saying, and just do what they're asking you to do at that time.
We good?
For that last, yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. We are going to talk about the community expectations. So we have a few questions, but I'm going to let you all have your spiel about community expectations.
Well, for community expectations, for the police department, I know that we expect to continue our efforts and engaging the community and having our very much look forward to events like National Night Out we were planning for. As of right now, we're thinking that we may have to cancel it, so just want to put that out right now because the COVID numbers are back up.
Yes.
So,
Understood.
right, understood. We don't want to be the ones that is helping the spread or causing the exposure. So as of right now, don't be surprised, citizens of College Park if we have to cancel National Night Out. It's not something that we wanted to do because we have had National Night Out annually for
Years.
many years.
Many years.
Many years. And it's a fun event. But our expectations are to continue those type of events. And trunk or treat and senior social, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so impressed with that event because that is our one event that we give to our seniors, and they're getting a real good meal. They're having a formal event. Some of them they look at it like their second prom. They dress up, they dance all night. It's a really, really great event, and it's not many agencies that I know. You know because you host us
Yes,
there.
I do.
So it's not many agencies that I know that put on that type of event and that type of show. So we try to make sure that we have something every year for every single age group. And our elected officials have even been wonderful because they do their own events and they invite us out, and we can still give back because we're helping to serve food. We're helping people get from their car so that they don't have to walk, and it's still that level of service that we're still able to help and provide. So City of College Park has been amazing, and our expectations on my behalf, I'm sure Chief would agree, is for us to continue those efforts so that everyone will help give those events to help bridge that gap and people can get to know an officer that they're okay with and comfortable to communicate with.
Thank you very much.
Other than that, I would like to hear what they would like to know from us.
Mayor?
Well, I think I would love for everyone in the community to not have their first interaction with an officer be at that pressure point in time.
Right.
And I think that the events that you're discussing and the ways in which our police department interact with the community allow for those things to happen. So it's not you're seeing a complete stranger at one of the toughest times in your life. I think that helps everyone involved to raise that, to lower the stress and the anxiety of a situation. Because, Deputy Chief or Chief, if you were to walk up and, someone had broken into my house, I see your face and I'm thinking, okay, this is a terrible situation, but I know the people who are showing up and I know that they're going to help me. And we've already had that level of interaction in a much less charged situation, and I would want that for every one of our citizens. So when people are putting events together, think about having a component where we can let the police interact with us in ways that aren't at the worst point or at the most immediate point when you need them, because I just think it helps everybody.
I agree. When I was younger, I grew up in Atlanta, and I grew up on the south side. I did. And we had an officer that we knew from our neighborhood. And if we got in trouble, we knew he was the officer that was going to come. But we all knew him, so our first experience with him was not us being in trouble. Right. It was just him riding around making us feel safe and secure. But we also knew that when we saw him, there was a level of respect that we gave him because you couldn't do anything around him. But you didn't feel like he was just there to lock you up or just there to make sure that you got in trouble. We felt like he was a friend of the neighborhood. So.
And we have had several of those incidents because I know through National Night Out, we got to meet one of the young men, and when let me see how I can explain it without telling all of it, but when he found himself potentially facing some trouble because he had taken his dad's car and he knew that the police was looking for him, he called me. So he was able to call me and we were able to have a conversation, and I was able to get his dad up there and we were able to work it out.
That's
so
nice.
We do have some really good outcomes and some good communication and some good, good insight from people in College Park already. We just want anybody else that may be feeling that disconnect to know that we are all people, and we all come from different backgrounds and upbringings. And I'm sure that regardless of what your personality or characteristic may be, we have someone in our agency that will fit your personality and your characteristic.
That's cute. All right, Lance. We are rounding this clock, so come on.
Okay. With regard to last week's question on foot patrols, more foot patrols, if the national standard is about 2 officers per 1,000 citizens, and College Park is about currently 4 per 1,000, is there any reason why we have to wait to hire more officers to increase the number of foot patrols?
Yes, because I think what I was said the other day was when we're at full strength, it's about 4 per 1,000. But right now, we're not at full strength. We need to hire more officers to be able to do those things, more than we are. We do have officers who jump out and walk Main Street, for instance, from time to time. We do have a part-time officer that's assigned to walk Main Street. We also encourage our officers to, when they see citizens out and they're not going to a call, to maybe get out of the car and greet and have conversation with somebody, just introduce themselves. And we're trying to encourage that more and more, particularly now since we're having to cancel our big events. Everybody can't come to those events, and we recognize that. But we're trying to get our officers, especially our young officers, to get out of the car a little bit and just go meet the people that they're serving.
Why are so many of the public areas, for example, I guess around here, not safe after dark? And how do we keep complexes like Tracy Wyatt and others safe when the sun goes down?
Repeat that again. I couldn't quite.
Sure. Essentially, in public parks and public spaces, how do we keep those areas safe after dark? It seems as if this person is mentioning how they feel they're unsafe to go anywhere after dark in a public space like here, Tracy Wyatt.
I'm not the one that you want to answer that question, because I was raised when the street lights come on, you supposed to be in the house.
Right.
So bad thing, in my time when I grew up, it was nothing good happens after a certain time when it's dark. So for everyone's safety, we would prefer for them to be in a safe place. Our parks and things like that close at a certain time to keep people safe, to keep down and reduce and prevent any sexual abuse, batteries, kidnappings, or anything like that. Kids today, you will almost still see them outside when the street light come on, so I would not be the one that y'all want to answer the question, because I would say we need to bring back our street light campaign.
I agree. I had to be in the house when the street lights came on.
And see, I love this city when it's dark and quiet, and I always marvel at the fact that I'm literally a stone's throw from the world's busiest airport, but I can hear nature.
Yes.
And so I love being, I probably shouldn't tell people this, but I kind of love being out there when there's not a lot of people. I'll carry something if you want me to. But
Open your window. Don't go out.
Yeah, but it's just, but I don't feel unsafe. I don't feel unsafe in College Park. I'd be curious to know, Lance, what about the situation makes the questioner feel unsafe?
If you're out there, please respond back, and we can.
I
figure
had
it
one
out.
person that said they felt unsafe, but it was at some apartments on Godby Road. So, I think there's parts of College Park where, because I lived in College Park as well. I live across the street from Woodward, and I've never felt so safe in a neighborhood that I could walk at night and I felt fine. But no matter what city you're in, there's still going to be some areas that you don't feel as safe walking in. And I think that even in walking, you have to use wisdom. So I would just you say use wisdom wherever you're walking at night, because I don't think this is necessarily a College Park issue. It's more of a time issue. The times that we live in is just not safe
And
right
the
now.
person's perception will also play a part in that because some people that I've talked to, they consider some of the apartments on Godfrey Road to be completely safe, you know, and they feel completely fine. So I would say also maybe depending on the person and their perception, what was going on at the time, if they saw something or heard something at that moment.
If you live there, you feel safe. You know everybody over there.
Right.
Yeah.
The best thing anyone can do for themselves is always maintain situational awareness and self-awareness. We can't go walking down the sidewalks on a busy street like Main Street on the up north or Godby Road or Old National with our face stuck in our phone the entire time we're walking
In earbud.
and look and our attention be drawn away from our surroundings. That you're making yourself a victim. You're an accident waiting to happen. You have to maintain situational awareness and self-awareness so that you don't become a victim. Let people know that you see them. Look them in the eye. Let them know that you're aware that they're there. And if you feel uncomfortable around someone, if they're acting suspiciously, then get on the phone and call 911.
There are some people that are asking, what are we doing about pushing the traffic down Old National from 285? And I think Old National is so chopped up. It's like you can only push them so far, then somebody else has to come and push them a little further. But there is a citizen that's expressed concern about what are our guidelines, what are our guidelines, or what are our plans for getting that traffic pushed down Old National quicker.
Well, Old National is a state highway, so anything that is done on Old National Highway has to be motivated and driven by the Georgia Department of Transportation. I think mayor and council can make certain requests, but if it's not on state DOT's radar, then it's really not going to get done. And that's, while Old National is inside the city limits, or a certain portion of it is, there's very little we can do at the interchange of 285 and Old National without the state being involved.
Thank you, Chief. Just another community. What are the true advantages of community policing, and how effective is it in College Park?
I feel like the true advantage of community policing is getting to know the people in your community, and your people in your community getting to know you and the police department. And like we've been talking about throughout this meeting, them having that avenue and that method of contact to reach out to someone that they know. I can't even start to tell you half of the things. Like sometimes when you meet a person in a community, you have met almost like a new best friend. I've been invited to housewarmings, and they may or may not even live in College Park anymore, but they still reach out to you and they still incorporate you. So that's why community policing is important. One of the little girls from Shop with a Cop one year, when she finally graduated, her mom reached out to let us know that, you know, she's graduated, and everything that we talked about and spent that time together discussing, like, she's doing very well. Those are some of your advantages to community policing. And it goes way deeper, because some of my cooking techniques I got from an older lady in the community who has since passed along, Miss Birdie. And Miss Birdie almost thought that I was like her true family member, because she would talk about how she gonna whoop me every time she saw me because I was off for 2 days. So, I mean, those are some of your advantages. And, you know, when we get to actually go, I got to go to her funeral, and that made me feel good to just know that I was there for her family. So when I tell you, community policing has so many avenues, and sometimes we need help. And we have a base of people that we can call from, because sometimes we need help and we need extra volunteers, or we need somebody to come man a table or a bouncy house. I mean, And when we make those phone calls, a lot of times they're there. So that's the advantages of community policing. You know, somebody may know someone that needs help in the community. They'll call us and they'll say, hey, I know that you guys are giving away turkeys. I know someone that, you know, they don't come out, they can't get out, they've never interacted with you all, but they're in need. Okay, well, let us contact this person so we can help them. So that's another advantage of community policing. Like, the advantage is all of us being able to live and cohabitate with each other, knowing that if you are in need, someone, if it's not a police department or city employee, that it's a neighbor or a friend that can reach out.
Thank you. Lance?
Sure. So I'm going to combine a couple questions here. With the understanding that everybody has a bad day, and everyone sometimes has to go to the place that they work, or I guess in this case, maybe online, go to the place that they work with, maybe in a bad mood or having something happen at home. How can the College Park Police Department kind of ensure or minimize the amount of impact that an officer's personal life might have on their day-to-day beat?
Oh, the officer having the bad day. Well, I can tell you I haven't come in to work happy all the time, but by the time you get here and you work with the people that you work with every day, somebody makes you forget all about that. And truth be told, in this profession, we spend a lot more time with each other than we probably do with our family members anyway. So if anybody can make you laugh and if anybody can bring you out of that bad mood, it is the people that you work with. But if ever we did have an officer that was having just a really bad day, or they're in a funk, or it's something that they can't get past, if the supervisor noticed that, or they come to the supervisor and have that conversation, 9 times out of 10 they'll say, you know what, just go home, you know, we'll work it out. Because sometimes you just need a day to just, but with our schedule, they have a lot of that free time anyway, but sometimes you just need that one day, you know, and it's okay because we'll work it out. You just sometimes need the support and to know that you have the support behind you to work out whatever it is that you need to work out.
Thank
Sure.
you.
Deputy
Mayor?
Chief,
Mayor?
Can you tell the public a little bit more about the schedule that our officers actually typically have? Because it's not a 9 to 5 kind of
every
thing.
day, right.
So tell a little bit more about
Our schedule in the city of College Park, we work 12-hour shifts, and typically you don't work more than 3 days in a row. So we have 3-day weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we rotate weekends so the officers have every other weekend off. So it's not a seniority. You've been here longer than me, so you're going to have all of the off days or anything like that. So our schedule, like, you're going to have at least 2 days every weekday off, and which kind of spoils you, because when I came back off of it and went back into administrative hours, you know, I'm standing in line with everybody else now on the weekends, and you know, you got spoiled because on the weekdays everybody else was at work and at school. You'd be out doing whatever you need to do. But City of College Park is a wonderful schedule, 12 hours. You don't work more than 3 days in a row with 3-day weekends, and you get every other weekend off. Great
Wow.
schedule.
But a caveat to that is this, is especially for the folks that work on night shift,
Right.
you may have court the next morning. You get off at 6 o'clock in the morning and you have to be in court at 9, and you could be there all day long, and then still perhaps have to turn around and come back and work the next day. If that happens, we again get the supervisor, send an officer home, and let them come in later, whatever. So, and even with the day shift, sometimes court falls on your off day, and you just have to go. So it's more than just working at the police station. We have a host of courts we have to go to. We have
Yeah.
state court in Fulton County, Superior Court in Fulton County, Magistrates Court in Fulton County, City Court, and on the Clayton County side, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Magistrates Court in Clayton County, State Court in Clayton County, Superior Court in Clayton County. So there's a host of courts that an officer may have to go to, and sometimes they may have two subpoenas for the same day and have to work out that magic.
Right. And also, I thought you was going to pull up what I left out. We also rotate every 4 months. So our officers don't get complacent dealing with the same people or being in the same place, same time. Every 4 months, we rotate. Our day shift will go to nights, and our night shifts will go to days.
And I will say you left off one, first appearance.
First appearance here, yes.
Which
Yes.
when I was a judge in magistrate court, I had to cover. And I will say that not knowing, any case from any other case, so much of what we did at first appearance was trying to look at a file and determine whether or not, what kind of bond should be set. Mm-hmm. And I will say there was a case that I still remember to this day where College Park detectives were there and were able to connect the dots for me as the judge who was looking at this at the, with a first impression to say, no, it's not just this. We're doing an entire investigation, and this is a huge human trafficking case. So it's not just this one thing. You need to look at the bigger picture. And having officers there at first appearance to enlighten us was a very, very helpful thing, but recognizing also that they are working nonstop.
Exactly.
Thank you, Mayor. Lance, do you have any questions?
Sure. There's one pretty good one right here I like. Is it possible to include Behavioral Health 101 in officer training? And this person says that they believe that the very basics would help when it comes to interacting with folks on the beat.
Well, we do have our officers go through stress management classes as part of their training. That's an ongoing thing every year. And again, we have our own little support system inside. Officers talk to each other. We have our chaplaincy corps. And if need be, we have our employee assistance program that any of our officers can rely on to go to get counseling and advice or other type of help that they may need.
Anything else, Lance?
I know we're running up on time.
Yes, you
so
are running out of time, and I don't want to have to tackle you. So,
I can run pretty fast, but in that case, I'll defer to you.
I see one other question, and then we're going to get down to you all giving your closing statements. There's a citizens that asks, will College Park ever fully disclose their weekly crimes committed in the areas? I guess they're trying to look at the crimes that are in the different areas of College Park. Do we do any kind of report like that, or are we looking into it?
I get it. I mean, Mayor and Council gets it. I mean, we get that information.
Okay.
So, I mean, it is being compiled. We see that. We see various categories of crime and how they compare to how the same month last year and year-to-date data. So it is available. I think the way that it is presented to us may, like, in terms of if we were sharing it, wider with the public, we'd probably have to break it down a little bit and make it a little bit more digestible.
Okay.
But the information is there.
Okay.
And we
Okay.
are
That's
definitely
what
keeping track.
that's what they were asking was what. So we do have the information. We just have to make it appealable to give to the or maybe once a year have let the citizens be able to see it. If we do, I guess the annual report. They used to have annual reports. If we do some kind of report just once a year, that way you don't have to do it every month or every quarter.
Right. Mayor and Council gets a breakdown every week of crime and the hot spots each week as well.
Okay.
So we keep them updated every week.
Okay.
And as far as the public, we go to certain ward meetings and the stats for those wards are shared with the residents of that ward.
Okay. All right, Chief, do you want to give, well, first we'll start with the Chief, then we'll go to Deputy Chief, and we'll let the Mayor do your closing statements.
College Park Police Department is here to serve the citizens of College Park and its visitors, people who work here. The city's slogan used to be College Park, a great place to live, work, and play. A lot of people come through this city every day due to the airport and in different types of commerce. We may have 150, 200,000 people a day through this city, except for the COVID, of course. But we serve everyone that comes through the city of College Park. We especially serve the people who live here. The public is who we're here to protect and serve as best we can. We don't want to ever have to be in a situation where we use force against our citizens. We prefer cooperation. We prefer peaceful resolutions all the time. And that's part of what this process is about, is the public getting to know us and us getting to know you and your concerns. Some of the things we're thinking about doing and exploring is maybe including a couple of citizens on our hiring board and our hiring process, and looking at ways maybe to have a couple of citizens in the use of force review committees and just educate to see what that looks like. And that's one reason the Citizens of Police Academy is going to be so important, is we're going to especially look to folks who go through those courses to maybe serve in some role to help us out in those areas. I love this city. The city has been good to me, and I enjoy serving it. And our door is always open. My door, the deputy chief's open, is always open as well. Well, thank you for tuning in, and thank you for your questions, for the dialogue, and hopefully someday we can do it in person. Again, National Night Out has been canceled for this year. We were looking forward to honoring the 2020 graduates, but with the numbers rising the way they are, we just don't want to risk creating an environment where others might get infected. But again, thank you. It's been a great pleasure to be here and serving you, Deputy Chief.
Yes, sir. I would like to also say thank you to everyone. In my 19 years here in the city of College Park, I've never regretted my decision to be here. I've been a part of College Park all of my life. My family participated in City of College Park Recreation Department, so I've always been around College Park, and as a kid, I had no idea that I would grow up and end up working here in the City of College Park, or even having the honor and privilege to serve as their deputy chief of the police department. I've even hung out over here on Godby Road as a teenager and wasn't supposed to be over here, but obviously College Park has been a part of my life and my upbringing, like I said, throughout my life. Had an accident here. Parents are like, what are you doing there? Couldn't explain it. College Park has obviously appealed to me for a very long time, and like I said, I'm very honored and privileged to be here, and I've been here since I've been 21 years old, so that was a long time ago, but you were my lieutenant when I started here. So the citizens of College Park has pretty much raised me from that rookie officer, and they have taught me a lot of skills. Like I was saying, Ms. Birdie, some of her cooking techniques. You know, I have actually learned a lot from the citizens here. Some of the things that I have purchased for the outside of my home has been because I have stopped by somebody's house and, you know, made contact where I was like, I love that. Where did you get it from? I mean, honestly and truthfully, College Park has been that sense of home for me. And I never have regretted my decision to be here in the city of College Park. And College Park residents and employees have been outstanding and wonderful and receptive. College Park residents and family and friends and visitors of College Park, we want you all to know that we are here. We are backing you all. We're hoping that you are here for us as well. We are fully aware of everything that we all are watching on television, and that's why we're having these conversations, because it's very important for us to remain a united community. We serve you, and we have to be able to work together, but I said last week and I say again this week, we have to be able to find a delicate balance so that we can make sure that College Park pulls this off right and we get it right. And as long as we approach it from a pure heart and a pure place, then I think we'll be okay. For people and places that are not doing it out of purity, history is going to continue to repeat itself. We have to really be pure in what we're trying to do and what we're trying to get across and what we're trying to get accomplished. And I can say for me, I am on board to find out whatever that is with our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mayor?
I just want to thank everyone who has participated both last week and this week. This has been such a good start to this conversation. And we are not finished by any stretch of the imagination, because we need to keep these conversations going to make sure that our community is the one that we deserve. And I specifically and especially want to thank Chief Williford and Deputy Chief McCrary, because when I initially sat down with the two of you and said, we should have some conversations, I mean, this takes real vulnerability and courage. And I think that, putting yourselves out there like this for our citizens shows what this department is about and what we want to strive for as a community. And I'm deeply grateful to both of you and the men and women of the College Park Police Department for their openness in this process and their willingness to serve our community. So, and Deputy Chief, I know you said it to me last week. I'm just going to put it out there, because she said to me last week that we should be having more of these conversations, not just when something happens. So I would love to see us do it on at least a quarterly basis and continue these conversations so we don't lose that connection with the community, because we all want the same thing. We want a stronger College Park where our families, our friends can enjoy this great city and be safe while doing it. So again, thank you everyone for your participation, and I look forward to the many conversations to come.
All right, that about ties it up for this evening. I want to thank everybody on social media, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, Zoom, Instagram, all the other grams and instas and books. We want to thank you all. The participation from the audience has been wonderful. And because of COVID-19, we really couldn't have done it without you all. You all sent in great questions. We do not forget the questions. Gerald does go through. He goes back. He looks at what did people ask, what did they want to know. Lance will go back and he will keep account of what you ask and what you want to know, so he can follow back up with the police department. So we will not let you down, and we will ensure that you get an answer. I told you all last week that there's something different about College Park. And it really is something different about College Park, to be able to have this conversation. And when you listen to the chief and you listen to the deputy chief and you listen to the mayor, they have a heart for people. And not everybody that serves in their capacity has a heart for people. So just listening to them makes you want to live in this city, because you have somebody that cares about not only you as a person, but your well-being. So there is always something different about College Park, because only in a little city with the world's busiest airport, the second largest convention center in the state of Georgia, Chick-fil-A's corporate office, FAA's corporate office, Woodward Academy. Only a small city like this would be able to handle all that with gentleness and care. So I thank the police department for College Park. I thank the mayor and council for taking this opportunity and giving the citizens and the police a chance. As Deputy McQuarrie said, this is our step toward healing. So thank you for this platform for healing. We thank the city manager, and you all have a great night. And on Tuesdays, every Tuesdays at the GICC, it is COVID testing from 10 to 2 o'clock. Please get tested. Wear a mask. I'm putting my pretty mask back on as soon as we get off the air. Thank you all, and have a great day.
Mercedes, wait. I'd be remiss if I did not add, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not filled out the census, please go to 2020census.gov and make sure that you are counted. We need to make sure that we get every dollar College Park deserves and is entitled to, so we need to make sure that every single person here counts.
Thank you, Mayor. Good night.
College Park.